You know, the craziest thing when it comes to Christmas and Santa is the fact that everybody knows Santa is an anagram of Satan. And when you speak to people about it, they just laugh. It's funny. Yet they talk about things being hidden in plain sight. We have been tricked, and the average person laughs about it. Laughs at the fact that Santa really is Satan. Hidden in the name, not even hidden there. Clear to see, in his big red suit. Red. We know what that's associated with. So further insights and thoughts in regard to Santa. When we look at the name Santa, removing the S leaves the word anta, which is related to architecture. A pilaster attached to the end of a side wall, or sometimes the side of a door. So these are essentially pillars or columns, like as I showed in the video Santa's Route, sleigh lines. How the sleighs, two sides and middle, can represent the Kabbalah, or the Tree of Life, which ultimately could be seen as an archway, and represented similar to how the Masons represent with the two columns or pillars. Essentially it can also be seen as a door, as the two sides create a centre, which essentially is a door. It reminds me of the line in a song. And I've already showed in videos the man-made and manipulated division and separation caused across countries and the world through all things. And this again highlights that with anta representing pillars. To create a door, seemingly. A door to where, we ask? To us. Feel I'm knocking on heaven's door. And when we flip the D in door, it creates poor. And as we all know, division and separation creates poor. Poor peoples. Not just poor in materialistic wealth, but poor of the heart. The anta also reminds me of Antarctica. Now, interestingly, we are told that Santa comes from the North Pole, where Antarctica is the South Pole, is the complete opposite. The name given to the continent originates from the word Antarctic, which comes from the French language, which means the opposite to Arctic, and in turn, opposite to North, derived from the Greek word meaning anti. Now, with everything said about Santa being Satan, he's the inversion of Jesus, he's the anti. Now moving on to Boxing Day. Boxing Day.
And a Boxing Day.
Boxing Day, yeah. It's Canadian. It's also English. My wife was English. She's, of course, American now.
I'm American now, too.
But, you know, you can't leave these traditions behind. It's part of her family.
That's right. So what exactly is Boxing Day? Well, take a look.
The day which we celebrate the day after Christmas Day.
On the surface, you might think that Boxing Day has its roots in the sweet science. Or if you grew up in Canada like I did, a good on-ice punch-up. Well, that is not the case.
And everybody that I ask doesn't even know why it's called Boxing Day, or what it really means. Apparently the name was coined in Queen Victoria's reign, and given so when the rich used to box up gifts for the poor. But the celebration of the day itself seems to stem further back to that, to St. Stephen or St. Stephen Day, a deacon in Jerusalem who died by stoning in the year 36. He was stoned in the year 36. Now, remember the videos that I've done around words and the dual meanings and how things can be hidden? Think of Christmas and how we all eat and feast over the Christmas period, including Boxing Day. And generally people put on weight, maybe a stone or two. How bizarre, when Boxing Day originated from a man being stoned. But all we're really given is that it is from St. Stephen's or Stephen's Day and is due to that saint day, and gifts are passed around or carried in boxes, hence Boxing Day. But for me, there would be something more. This would be hiding something. Games are played, a lot of football games, a lot of competition between two sides. This originated more so from hunting and games around the rich. And when we relate this back to Jesus and it being after the day of his birth, it could be seen as the beginning of the true fight for good and evil. Sometime after that, him being hunted down and a fight of sorts taking place. Literally Jesus fighting for his life and those around him. And I can't find much in the scriptures around the day after his birth, but I did find 8 days after his birth he was circumcised. Again, it's in the words, 8 days after he was circumcised. Now think of how most people hate the circumstances they find themselves in. Can you see? Hate the circumstances they can find themselves in. If we change the hate to an 8 and circumstances to circumcise, it's literally the same thing, hidden, inverted and twisted. We are told a group of magi came sometime after the 3 wise men, they say. The word magi, when I look at it, reminds me of Maggie, like the woman in the Rod Stewart song.
Wake up, Maggie, I think I got something to say to you.
But there were 3 wise men, 3 magi, and when we change the number 3 to its lettered counterpart, it's a C, adding that to the end of magi, you get magic. And they brought gifts, gold, frankincense, and myrrh. These do and can mean a number of things. But something that I saw that I didn't realise earlier was looking at the word frankincense is very, very similar to Frankenstein. And in the book, something is brought back from the dead. This seems to be a weird inversion of Jesus' resurrection. With myrrh being very similar to myth, that was what he has become for most people. And gold seemingly the beginning of his journey, the heart, the deeds, the actions undertook before the resurrection. So in order it makes sense, gold representing right action, purity, good deed, frankincense representing resurrection, and myrrh representing myth. In relation to trees and the Christmas tree, I have argued that gold is found in close proximity and is stemming from the trees. Frankincense comes from tree resin, we know, and myrrh comes from the gum of a plant. It could be argued they all come from the tree or the plant. No one would argue Mother Nature. And further to this, relating to trees, Yule can be associated with the Christmas festival, coming from the same place as Christmas, actually incorporated into Christmas. For me, is mostly associated with the Yule log, a chocolate cake, but stemming from the actual chopping of wood. And when we take the log aspect from the cake, we could see the tree aspect. And Yule could be pronounced like Yule or you will, Yule log or you will log. The Yule log coming from the Pacific burning of a selected log at Christmas, linking it to fire and light. Jesus' father, not God, Joseph, can be identified in the modern world and used in an inverted way. The father of MK Ultra was Joseph Mengele. The GOAT of football managing is Jose Mourinho. Stalin's first name was Joseph Stalin, famous Russian leader. The current American president is Joe Biden, Joe short for Joseph, Joe Rogan. All these people considered fathers, leaders in their field, and are just a few to name, hailed in the modern world. Inverted Josephs they are. And more so, Mary and Joseph together, the name makes the initials MJ, the most famous initials in the world for me. Inverted and giving power. Michael Jordan, Michael J. Fox, which is Michael J. 666. Michael Jackson, Mick Jagger, Martin Luther King, Magic Johnson, Martin B. The list is huge. And reversed, it gives JM back to Joseph Mengele. And it's funny how King Herod, the king that chased Jesus out of the lands to Egypt wanting to slay him, has the word hero in it. And Hollywood love their heroes. Maybe this is an inversion and a way of highlighting and showing support for Herod for chasing down Jesus. In the eyes of evil, he is a hero. And the D in terms of numbers, his counterpart is 4. It makes hero 4 or 4 hero, which actually reminds me of a game I played as a teen and many others would. Guitar Hero 4. and also a GoPro camera that I had, GoPro Hero 4. But further to this, groups of heroes generally come together. Different in numbers they are, but very popular, the number 4. 4 heroes in one group. Today we find Jesus' birthplace, Bethlehem, currently under attack. The birthplace of Jesus under attack and subdued for Christmas. It's shocking, disgusting, and truly highlights the attack on light and the inversion in this changing time. For what could be worse on the celebrational day of Jesus' birth, which took place in Bethlehem, than that exact place being bombed and children being killed? Jerusalem actually has exactly in the middle USA in the middle of its name, which really highlights the USA's interest in Jerusalem and why they will never leave that country alone. Will always try to manipulate or control it because they are literally in its name. And although this is weird, I know it myself, this is odd. It's strange how these things are shown almost like some form of pre-programming or something higher than us. But the USA is in the middle of the name Jerusalem, and adding it all together makes complete sense why. Jesus of Nazareth. In the word Nazareth is the word Tarzan, and the remaining letters he. He Tarzan or Tarzan he. A boy left in the jungle and raised by animals. Often referred to as a king. King of the jungle. Tarzan for me, again, an inversion of Jesus. An inversion of the truth. Interestingly, the word Nazareth also has the words heart, earth and hurts in its name, highlighting its duality. Hater can also be found. Remembering that Tarzan is a man-made aspect taken from something else, whereas the earth and heart are something that has been created by God. Interestingly, and further to Santa's route, the route that he takes, which I identified as following ley lines, could be compared to Jerusalem's pilgrimage route or route. As stated before, leys are following old tree roots. The Jerusalem pilgrimage seems to fall on ley lines and has huge amounts of power. Interestingly, the wreath that we put on our door at Christmas, if we take the E out, is wrath, like the wrath of God. But the wreath is similar to the flowers that are placed on headstones and coffins. Again, maybe supporting the wrath idea, wrath alongside death. As when we take the WR off the front of wreath and add a D, we actually get the word death. And to conclude, that we all know winter is destruction and spring and summer creation, being part of this cycle, winter, Christmas, ultimately does highlight destruction as well as the coming of creation. We know this. What we speak against is the man-made inversion of nature's principles, which they are copying, cloning, manipulating, twisting. But back to Boxing Day, as I said before, it's linked to this idea of sports and was associated with hunting, the rich riding out hunting with hounds. In today's world, it's such things as football, the clash of two, again highlighting this boxing element of fight. But a deeper and darker thought in regards to Boxing Day and Christmas in general. And this would be linking everything that I've shown in videos, including MK manipulation, missing children, would be the aspect of the children at Christmas. If we know that Santa is a representation of Satan, his love for children is not just one spiritually, emotionally and mentally. It also has to be physical. So I ask myself the question about missing children of the world. And could there be a potentiality of a mass ritual of sorts taking place on Christmas Day to truly show the inversion of the birth of Christ versus the death of a child? That would be the complete inversion of it. I thought to try to research when children went missing, mostly, say, across the UK. You can hardly find any particular information of that type, of particular months, etc. But then I thought to myself, well, it doesn't matter when they're going missing, they're still going missing. And ultimately, when we look back at the story of Santa, he's preparing all year, getting things ready. So ultimately, the children of the world could ultimately be in a stage of preparation throughout the year up until a point. Obviously, taking in consideration other rituals and other bad doings will be taking place, but still edging towards this mass ritual, if you like, on Christmas Day. Which edges on to the explanation or a suggestion about Boxing Day, which would actually be boxing up the remains of the doings of the day before. Putting it in a nice way. The thought itself is horrible, and to even think this thought has made me feel not good inside. However, it seems logical and everything seems to be pointing in this type of direction. That is obviously all about the children, and there is a lot more taking place on Christmas than the representations of Santa, Red, all the elves, etc. have far more, as shown the sugar-coated candy, the dual meanings, manipulation, the narrative versus the truth. In the UK here on Boxing Day, we all eat our leftovers from Christmas Day, and what I've said about the children and what happens to them potentially on Christmas Day. What you would find on Boxing Day would be the leftovers, the remains, which would linking to the naming of Boxing Day. I hope what I speak isn't true, but something in my heart tells me it is. One day we will overcome the darkness for good. Love and light to all.